Welcome to The Business Mind. Join me, Mark Fechner, as I sit down with business leaders to discuss their real-world challenges and formulate forward-thinking, creative solutions. We focus on real people with real issues, and we tackle those issues in real time. I don't have the answers. I help you find the answers within you. Sometimes all that is needed is just a slight change in perception. The Business Mind Show starts now. Good morning, everyone. I am Mark Fechner, and welcome to The Business Mind here on Transformation Talk Radio, the show that features the guest's pursuit of excellence through the process of one-on-one coaching. If you would like to be part of our conversation, I would welcome your comments in the comment section on the transformationtalkradio.com website, or if you would prefer, the facebook.com/. Transformation Talk Radio. Please, I'd love to hear from you. So today we're going to talk about upscaling a business. And upscaling a business is something that every business owner needs to do and needs to think about. But it's particularly important to have an understanding of it if you are a solopreneur, because solopreneurs are the only person in their business. They're the ones that are generating the revenues and handling the clients and stuff like that. And at a certain point, upscaling a business becomes a fight between getting more money for your work and sacrificing more time to achieve it. And so today we're going to have that conversation. My guest is, she started out as an athlete. And in that process, she probably had more injuries than normal in her early athletic career. But that has inspired her to start her own personal training business. And in that process, she now works with clients on not just, exercise, but also basic movement and strength and balance issues that clients come to her with. She is the founder of Spark Synergy Fitness here in the Chicagoland area. Please welcome Kirsten Andersen.
Good morning. Thank you for the introduction, Mark.
Good morning, Kirsten. How are you?
I'm doing delightful today. Delightful.
I'm glad to hear that.
And I'm happy to be here.
Given my introduction, please tell us a little bit about your business. Give us more information, more detail.
Sure. As Mark mentioned, I was a chronically injured athlete growing up. I didn't even realize how severe some of those injuries were until I was in college. And I was diagnosed at the tender age of 20 with severe arthritis in both of my knees. That's not something that you normally find in a 20-year-old body. And modern medicine at the time failed me. They said, "Oh, there's nothing that we can do. Go home and take painkiller." And I didn't accept that as a solution. And so it was sort of a heal thyself situation. So in my pursuit of learning why my body was behaving this way, I went into a personal training certification program and learned essentially that I had been moving in unhealthy and incorrect patterns, and that had exacerbated these issues. And so through the process of learning how to correct those issues in myself, I also have a theater degree, so I'm relatively good at communication and creative imagery. And so taking some of these concepts that, if you see a physical therapist, they're able to be like, "Oh, I guess this muscle and this joint and this particular thing that the joint or that the muscle or the tendon attaches to." I speak in a little broader terms, kind of layman's terms, if you will, in order to help people connect with their bodies, connect to healthier movement patterns, and really understand what their bodies should be doing in space so that they can be strong, stable, reduce pain, reduce injury, and go on to lead really movement healthy and movement conscious lives.
Very cool. I also wanted to point out that, yeah, and I've seen some of these videos. You're also very much into stunt work, um, uh, through with your theater background, which
Mhm.
also takes on that physical uh, attribute of your business as well.
Very much. And the link for those two is really about physical storytelling. Obviously, for stunt performance, I'm using my body to help tell a story, and often that story for a stunt performer involves violence. My first episode of Chicago PD, I got carjacked and I got thrown into the street a whole bunch of times, so that was a fun time. Um, and
I, I'm picturing you, and I'm just picturing. Okay, here, let's throw this woman into the car.
Yep, just like, well, no, not thrown into the car, thrown out of the car and into the
Oh,
middle of the street. So
so sorry.
it's
My
okay.
bad.
I must have done that fall and roll like, I don't know, 12 times. It was a great day, honestly. I had a blast. Not not your average day at work, but yeah, it's really fun being able to connect those dots of the performance and the body awareness and building on foundational skills so that I can do something like that 12 times and not get injured, you
Yeah,
know?
I
Um,
I I particularly like the video you shared with me privately of you on fire. That was, that was
that's
that
fun.
was like, wow,
Yep.
and boy, that's alarming. just I'm just saying. So in our so to get on with our discussion, what is it that you would like to discuss today?
So my biggest issue as far as upscaling goes is that I my clients love me, which is great. It's a great problem to have. My clients love me. And so when I get when I find someone who's a good fit for my coaching style and they appreciate the education, they appreciate the guidance and the companionship and all that goes into that. I've had some clients that I've been working with now for upwards of 6 years, which is delightful. I love these human beings. Um, but there's a certain point at which I I want to stop trading my hour by hour by hour for money and be able to create um, a larger program, or really I want to be able to help more people and free up some of my time. I think that's really the kicker. Is that right now, because I'm working primarily one-on-one or in small groups, my ability to reach people is really limited by the number of hours in the day, or the amount of energy that I have. Um, and so that's currently my dilemma, figuring
So
out.
you and I have been working for a few months. So, you know, free disclosure here. Kirsten and I have been, she's been my client for a number of months now. And we've been talking about your creating this uh, video program
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what's still the challenge in creating those videos and submitting that to a client?
I'm recognizing that not all of my current clients are interested in that a little bit more hands-off approach where I'm creating programming. They, especially the clients who've been working with me for a while now, they know what their bodies are supposed to be doing in space. I'm not worried about them injuring themselves. Um, and I would love for them to be able to have a little bit more self accountability and essentially maybe meet them once a week and then hand off a homework program and, have them stick to it. And that stick to itiveness is really one of the hurdles. And it might be because I'm too nice, and I've been, like I remember earlier in my career when I wasn't even working for myself yet, and I would give people a little bit of homework, And then I would see them again. And I was like, hey, did you do your homework? And they would go, no, they're like, oh no, I really messed up. Oh, I'm so ashamed of myself. I should have done it. I know I should have done it. Now I'm internally beating myself up.
Right.
And the empathic me, the me that doesn't like seeing people beating themselves up, would go, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And that wasn't helpful for them. And that wasn't terribly helpful for me either to
Right.
help them get the results that they wanted. And so now I'm in the point of trying to break that cycle and maybe become a little bit more of a bad cop, or maybe not even, maybe I don't even have to be a bad cop. That might not be the way to phrase it, but how can I help? How can I create a system to help people be more accountable to themselves and also to me, so that they don't feel like they're just doing it on their own, that they still feel like I'm involved in their movement and very invested in their progress, and all that, and a bag of rice. I don't
Right. 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 Exactly.
know.
Um, yeah. And it's, it sounds like to me that the empathy part is wonderful and is a great advantage, especially with what you do. But it also sounds like it's kind of getting in the way.
To a certain degree, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and I think part of it is, because as I'm creating this kind of video archive of exercises and demonstrations, and I've mentioned I'm a real stickler for healthy movement. So I want my clients to understand what goes into doing an exercise like a row or like a push up, so that they're not hurting their shoulders, and that they understand what those body mechanics are.
Hmm.
And so, because I feel like my superpower is that kind of educational translation when I'm
Hmm.
with a person, my struggle with the videos is knowing, like, what are the cues that are going to be the most effective? How concise do I have to be in order to share that same nugget of educational information and still have it resonate?
Right. Okay. This is a good time to take a quick break. So, for our listeners, you are listening to The Business Mind. I am Mark Fechner. Remember, if you are interested in making comments, I would love to see and hear from you on the Facebook page or transformationtalkradio.com. We are going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and go into a more detailed discussion on this. So please stay tuned. Welcome back. This is The Business Mind. I am Mark Fechner, and my guest today is Kirsten Andersen of Spark Synergy Fitness. And we're talking about the sales funnel and the sales funnel process, and how she can go about upscaling her business. Before we go any further, Kirsten, how can people get a hold of you?
Best way is currently through my email address. I'm actually not on social media because I needed a break from my mental health. I hope that everyone else is able to mediate that how they see fit, but email is the best way to get a hold of me. My email is k.andersen, S-E-N, .synergy@gmail.com. And I'm sure it's in the program notes.
It is in the program notes, yes. So during the break, we kind of talked about the sales funnel. Um, and I want to ask you, so for you, what is the biggest challenge in creating, how do I want to say this? Mitigating your client's need to have access to you
What's
on
my what's
on a
my
regular
biggest
basis.
challenge?
Yeah,
Um,
what's the biggest challenge in trying to wean your clients back, away from always having to work with you?
I think, I mean, in terms of, thinking about the sales funnel, I think just because of the nature of my business, like, we're at the top of the sales funnel, there's the freebies, and then maybe a small group, and then maybe a like an evergreen or a subscription. And then right as you get narrower and narrower and deeper into the funnel, it becomes that the one-on-one, which is kind of like the ultimate cherry, except for my business, that's where people start. And
Hmm.
so having that access, I haven't had to build out the other levels or layers of that funnel. So I'm in the process of trying to build some of those programs so that I can possibly work with smaller groups or create a subscription program. The One of the biggest challenges is, quite frankly, having the time to do that, because so many of my hours are spent one-on-one with clients.
Hmm.
And so making that transition and being able to like have the time to create the programming to sort of funnel them into is one of my challenges.
Okay. Um, I know from our work outside of this conversation that you've achieved that. You have gotten material together and you have shared it with clients. What's been the response like?
The response on the whole, because we're, let's see, because I do have two clients right now who are doing a remote coaching option, which is where I'm a little bit more of a general versus an accountability buddy.
Hmm.
Um, and so what I'm finding is that the people who are fitting into that program better, where, we have a coaching session once a month to really check in and make sure that the work that we're doing is on track with the goals that we've stated, and, resetting, reframing kind of what we're focusing on.
Hmm.
Um, but what I'm finding is that the people who are really successful there already come in with a certain self-reliance and or already have more exercise know-how. And so one of my clients in particular is just running with it. Like I've given her her monthly program. It's customized for her goals. Whenever she has questions, we touch base. But really, she's just been incredibly self-sufficient. And so the struggle that I'm having is, how do I take these people who don't necessarily have the confidence, because a lot of the clients that I work with, they didn't grow up feeling athletic. They didn't grow up having confidence in their bodies. Many of them actually have a lot of fear in their bodies, either that they're going to fall or that they're going to hurt themselves, or, and especially because I work with like middle-aged and senior people, especially, that confidence about not getting injured is a really big deal. So
Yeah.
how do I take those people and instill that confidence, which comes over time and comes with repetition and, success that we celebrate, and then how do I transition them to become more
Hmm.
self-reliant, and then that they don't, so that when they wake up, moving is part of their day, just like brushing their teeth.
Right. Right. Um, so because your business is so tied to the personal, the one to one, this is how, whether it's virtual or in a gym, showing them how to move, showing them how to, the proper form for things and stuff like that. What if, and this is just an idea to think about, but what if you were to flip the sales funnel process? I know that you've you have a pretty good channel or a pretty good referral program on how
Mhm.
people come and find you. The this funnel idea of a sales funnel is really designed to, you have your higher level. I These people don't know you from Adam, so let's give them something free, and then maybe oh yeah, those, the percentage, those are going to go down, and, buy a book,
Mm-hmm.
and then the people from there, oh, they're going to buy a workshop. And then from there, they go down and, maybe it's a mastermind class, or, finally a one-on-one session with you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a way, in that sales funnel model, that's a way to attract new clients.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that issue right now.
No, thankfully I don't.
No, you don't. And we should all have that problem. Uh, so you're finding the clients. That's not the issue. It's the issue is, how do you go about still maintaining that and talking to those people, but having room and time for others, and upscaling the business.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that, well, one, I do want to say I am incredibly lucky that, my clients are satisfied with me. I'm part of a business referral network called BNI, which is how I met Mark. And that's been a very good source of referrals for me as well, because it cuts out a lot of the middleman. When someone that you trust refers you to a professional, you're a lot of the hard work is over. And so my best clients come from that word of mouth referral. And I tend to get a decent number of them, which is great.
Mhm.
But I think that, especially with newer clients who are coming in, I don't have the time in my schedule, or even necessarily the bandwidth, to stay with everybody for 6 years like I have with, there's a handful of my clients that have really been a core piece of my business, and I love them dearly. But I don't necessarily see them transitioning into a different model. So focusing on those newer people coming in, I think, to answer your question, that the expectation simply needs to be set early,
Okay.
that we're going to be working together in this one-on-one fashion, whether it's actually in person at my gym space, or whether we're working through Zoom, which I'm finding has been incredibly effective. But that the expectation is we will work together um, a little bit more intensely for this dedicated amount of time. And during that time, we'll be working on those processes to help build the self accountability and build that momentum, so that moving becomes part of your habits, not just strength training or cardio or what have you, because to me, movement is medicine. And so even just getting up and taking 10 minutes to limber up in the morning and just get in touch with your body is a commendable habit.
Yeah.
And so taking those newer people, those newer clients, and setting the expectation of we're going to be working together one-on-one for whatever this duration is. And then after that, here's how we're going to progress, and like setting that as the sort of standard.
So in talking about expectation, and that's an interesting word. What do you find is the biggest challenge when you're talking with a person about their expectations?
That's a really good question. Um, I think that the biggest hurdle would be, it's very easy to talk with someone and agree, like, because when I work with people, I don't create a plan for them, I create a plan with them,
Okay.
which I think is a big distinction. But that, even when I'm creating a plan with them, and to them it sounds reasonable, it sounds like they're going to be able to do it, it sounds like, life isn't going to get in the way. I think one of the biggest hurdles is that life tends to try to derail us in a way. And so that expectation that, oh, I've agreed to this, it's going to be easy, and then it's not easy to change a habit. It's not
Hmm.
easy to build a habit. I think that's probably the biggest hurdle, is finding that resistance or those obstacles, and then still being able to reframe so that they don't lose hope and don't lose faith that they are capable of doing this themselves.
So, in your conversation along those lines, what can you do, say, act differently to help alleviate the the fear factor?
Mm. Or the should. I
The
should
woulda,
really
shoulda,
go work.
couldas. Yes.
Yeah, that's the killer. Should is such a dirty word to me.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's honestly, to me, it's about finding the small moments to steal your time back.
Okay.
And that means, if someone's concerned about balance, what are you doing while you're waiting for the food in the microwave or while you're cooking something on the stove? It's finding moments to practice these things if they actually matter to you, but you have to decide if it's going to matter to you. So if because if it doesn't ultimately matter, then you're not going to try to find the time in your day,
Hmm.
you know, and that time doesn't have to be extreme.
Hmm.
We all need daily movement, but it doesn't have to be an hour and a half at the gym. You don't have to become a gym rat in order to um, move more, to feel better and feel healthier. You
Right.
know?
So, what you're basically talking about, I mean, change is difficult.
Change is
Let's
difficult.
let's face it, especially when you're changing a habit that, going from a sedentary lifestyle
Hmm.
to one that includes and incorporates movement.
So I think that the first hurdle is that once my clients and I are in the group of moving together, is that they have to recognize, oh, I really do feel better when I'm moving.
Okay. So, how can you help them with that?
I think I think that has to come, or does tend to come, in that first phase where
Okay.
I'm working with people closely. And then when I don't know, I might have to think about that a little bit more.
Okay. I can see the smoke burning right now. So, because what your clients are experiencing is true of a lot of people, is that they're experiencing a fear,
Hmm.
you know, and you, with your empathy and your experience of, overcoming the physical adversity that you have experienced, you have a way of connecting with a client that may not be true of a lot of other personal trainers.
I really meet them where they're at. I refer to this principle as the growth edge,
Okay.
which is taking a client and learning where that threshold of their comfort zone is, essentially. Because, sometimes you hear the word comfort zone, and when people say you got to step outside your comfort zone, it feels like someone's asking you to leap off of a cliff,
Yeah, exactly.
right? And the way that I think of the growth edge, if we're standing at the Grand Canyon, I'm not asking you to leap off. I'm helping you find a winding, safe path down. That
Hmm.
moments of it are challenging. You're challenging your expectations of yourself, but all the while you still feel like you're safe and you're in good hands. And so you learn to trust your own body a little bit more.
Okay. And so, when we're talking about the sales funnel, it sounds like we're flipping the funnel.
Yeah.
because you can establish, it's going to be much easier for you to establish. We're making some assumptions here. I apologize. I'm stepping back here a little bit. We're making some assumptions. You're getting clients. You're not really searching for the clients. The clients, you're getting good referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about attracting new people. It's more about establishing the trust and the confidence early on in the relationship.
Yes.
And then from there, you can basically guide them to a program that allows for you to take on more clients, because that's
Mm-hmm.
really the goal here.
Yes.
They're still working with you. Maybe they are working with you at a reduced price level because they're not, it's not the one-on-one,
Because
but
they're at the point where they don't need so much individual attention because we
exactly.
built the body confidence and we've built some of these habits and the knowledge. Yeah. So they don't need all of that hands-on attentiveness because
Right.
I'm very detail oriented when I work with people.
Right. And so you're going to, so you can establish, and this could be part of your onboarding process when you actually talk to a new client for the first time, saying, hey, listen, we're going to get real intense up front. Not that you're intense, but you know what I mean. Never thought of you as intense. Um, but we're gonna, we're really gonna, I'm gonna focus on what you need and what we're gonna do and how you can move better and create movement that is customized to you, my client.
Hmm.
But eventually you're gonna wean them off of that
Yes. Build
and
self-reliance.
create the self-reliance that they need. So in all of this, what's the scary part for you?
I think that's where quite frankly, like my control freak nature actually comes in. Like I said, I get very detail oriented. And so, well, and not just that, but I think I've become so accustomed to being with a human being and helping them solve problems in the moment that, and I really do feel like my superpower is there in the room with somebody, helping them understand their bodies in a new
Hmm.
way. And I think the most challenging piece of being a little bit more hands off is that I have to recognize that I can't give all of my superpower in the same way to people and still be a little bit more of a coordinator for their movement as opposed to an accountability buddy.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does. And what is it about that it's is challenging for you?
I think that part of it is I don't want my clients to feel like they failed. And I also
Mm,
think I probably take it a little too personally when
okay.
they don't do what they're supposed to. I feel like it's a failure on my part. Like I should have been able to supply them with more tools or more techniques or more, something.
Hmm.
Um, and so maybe I take a little too much responsibility
Okay.
for their inaction if they choose inaction.
Okay. Okay. Because what you're describing is you know sort of the same. We've heard that eventually, the birds have got to get kicked out of the nest and they have to fly on
Uh,
their own.
yeah.
That's unfortunately that's the analogy that's running through my head. You're you're in that, it sounds like you're in that same type of of mindset is that, you know, okay, little birdie, time to fly. You know, at a
Yeah.
certain point, they need to, everyone, I mean, I'm no different in that, needs to take responsibility for what it is that that I want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if that is being more physically active, if that means being more independent or have better balance or whatever, that's on me. That's my responsibility. And I will, you know, I would come to you and say, hey, help me with this, but you can't do this.
That's actually a really good metaphor. Thank you. The
Okay.
picking the birds out of the nest.
Kicking the birds out of the nest. We're going to subtitle this episode Kicking the Birds Out of the Nest.
You're right. I can't flap for them, you
No.
know? But like I was saying with that growth edge, that's like, little baby bird desperately holding on to the edge of the nest with their claws and flapping frantically, just trying to figure out the mechanics
Mm-hmm.
of flight before they actually take off.
Right.
Like that's that growth edge, that place where you feel a little bit challenged, but you also know that you're safe, and that you can build the skills.
So the question then becomes is how can you in your coaching practice, how can you lead your clients to that edge and then help them fly on their own?
I think it's going to involve taking what I'm doing with my remote clients right now and integrating that protocol as a homework protocol earlier on with my clients, with my
Okay.
in-person clients, so that they learn the system. We set up the ways to be accountable while they're still working with me and playing in that growth edge. And then once they have the confidence, that way it's not necessarily a leap off. You're just continuing, to go back to that analogy, someday the little baby bird who's flapping frantically on the edge of the nest will realize that, oh, I can actually release my claws and be airborne for a bit
Mm-hmm.
and then come
Mm-hmm.
back down and then all of a sudden they're just continuing what they've been doing and continuing what they've been learning. So I think it's really going to be about pulling that system and integrating it with all of my in-person clients so that it's not a leap.
Okay. Okay. And we got a few more minutes here before the break. And how do you see yourself starting to integrate that into your client base?
Well, I'm trying because I that's a good question. Because part of it is also, that's an additional type of work on my end. Not that it's not doable work, but you know, it's almost like it's a little bit of a different hat when I sit down to create
Hmm.
exercise programming for people versus when I get to show up and be in a room with people. I'm wearing a different part of my entrepreneurial hat. Good
Yeah.
gracious, I can speak English. Um, and so I think integrating it with my current clients, it might be, instead of doing it like all at once where I go, everybody's now on this system. You
Yeah.
have no choice. You know, I think it's going to be having conversations with my current clients that I'll obviously be open to, would you like to do this? No, not
Hmm.
right now. Okay, cool. Because there are going to be some of my clients who will lean into this a little bit more easily or more willingly than others.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think starting there to help build not only their confidence, but also my confidence that the system will work
Right.
before just kind of globally slapping it across all of my clients as mandatory, because that's also, I'm getting much more efficient at this remote coaching and the homework programming and all that sort of stuff, but it is still a little bit newer for me. So,
Right.
and I don't know if you know this, Mark, but when you do something new, sometimes it takes longer than you expect it will.
Really?
What?
I've never experienced that in my life ever.
It's never been a thing where you're like, oh yeah, I can totally knock this out in 20 minutes.
Yeah,
3 hours
exactly.
later, three
So
hours,
it also sounds like, and we may not have enough time to go talking through this, but it also sounds like it's a mindset change for you
100%.
because I'm sorry.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because your empathy has really sort of driven how you interact with your clients.
Yes.
And now it's like you love your clients, you've more than said that, and they love you. Now, how do you give them love but say, okay, we need to we need to push back just a little bit.
A little more tough love.
A more tough love. Maybe
Tough love,
that's
Kirsten.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
my martial arts instructor, Master Daniel Pacina, he talks about, when he went over to train in China, his instructors would literally hit him with a stick if he wasn't doing something correctly. And what do you do when you get hit with a stick? You learn real fast, don't you? You learn real fast not to do that again.
Yeah, and there's an old adage I've always heard, you want to get someone's attention, hit them with a 2x4. So
Oh my goodness. Not that I'm advocating for any sort of physical violence.
no, of course not.
No, we'll keep that in the stunt realm. We'll pretend to be
Exactly,
violent
exactly.
together.
We're going to take a quick break here. Before we go, one more time, Kirsten, how can people get a hold of you?
Best way at this moment is through my email, k.andersen, S-E-N, synergy@gmail.com.
All right. So if you have any personal training fitness questions, email Kirsten and she'll be happy to help you out. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, I'm going to ask Kirsten what are some of the takeaways she's going to take from today's session. If you have any insights, again, I would welcome your comments on the transformationtalkradio.com website or facebook.com/transformation talk radio. So we'll see you on the other side of the break. Okay, welcome back. So Kirsten, what are you going to walk away with today?
The baby bird analogy.
Okay.
I really, really like it. It's because like I mentioned earlier, especially when I was attempting more at the beginning of my personal training career to have people do homework, and then I was being met with not only resistance on their end, but also like my emotion. I felt like I was failing if they weren't doing it. And that baby bird, once they take off, there's really nothing that I could do about it. It's on them.
Mm-hmm.
So that, recognizing that there's kind of phases, getting a new baby bird in the nest, helping them get comfortable and confident with the lingo and the expectations and like the body awareness, then kind of getting them on the edge of the nest where they're starting to flap and really practicing some of these skills and being more and more challenged. And then sending them off into the universe, and I will be there to support them, but not being as attached to their ability to fly or not, because ultimately it will be, we all have individual self responsibility.
Well, and I think also the other thing to remember is that, they're going off and flying and, they have their own lives to lead,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, challenges will come up
Mm-hmm.
and it may very well curtail their ability to, follow a regime of exercise or, regular movement for whatever reason. And, it might not be a fault, it might not be their fault. It's
Sure.
just how things happen.
Yeah.
So it's not it's less about, you know, the exercise and more about the mindset and setting the expectation.
Mm. And the helping my clients and I mean in general just people that I come in contact with, we don't move enough in our culture. We're very static. What's the word I'm looking for? Where we sit a lot. Sedentary. Ha!
Sedentary, that's the word,
English.
yes.
Um, and just getting over that hump where they realize viscerally, like their body and their mind and their emotions, like it's all kind of woven in together. And
Hmm.
movement helps not just the body, it helps your mental health, it
Yeah.
helps you regulate stress and be on more of an even keel emotionally. And so you're totally right. All these other things come up and obstacles will always happen because that's how the path of life works. Um, and so having clients who can go through this process with me where we're working intensely together. I'm integrating that kind of remote coaching or that little more hands-off guidance. I'm integrating that piece of it while we are working together, which I think is going to be I would say that's my second biggest takeaway.
Okay.
Um, or maybe it is my biggest takeaway. I don't know, but it's a takeaway.
It's a takeaway.
Um, and then having them realize that, yeah, it feels good to move.
Hmm.
Like at the end of
And
the
and perhaps in your conversations with people in that beginning, you know, more intensive period, you can help your client make that connection that
hmm
movement is not just good for the body, it's good for the mind, the soul, you know,
hmm
everything. You
yep,
know, the more that can, it sounds like the more that connection can be made, the more likely they are to be successful moving forward.
literally moving forward.
Literally moving forward. Exactly. Exactly. Um, okay. Any other thoughts here?
I there's a whole industry that the whole fitness industry just floods us with messages that can seem disparate. Sometimes they are competing. You go to Google and you ask like what's the best way to do this, and you'll get five completely different answers and you don't know which way to turn. And so my my wish for people, my hope for people is that, by spending time with your body, whether it's intense exercise or whether it's 10 minutes sitting on the floor stretching with your kids, it doesn't have to be intense. But when you are able to spend time paying attention to your body has signals and things that it's trying to tell you all the time.
Hmm.
And the more that you can create space to listen to your body, the more you'll find yourself wanting to move, wanting to find ways to interact with other people that involve movement. Um, and that, really movement is life.
Yeah. Cool. I like that. We're gonna stop there.
Okay.
Movement is life. I love that. Um, one more time, you can reach Kirsten at Kirsten
At,
dot
nope, K dot.
K. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's too long of an email address if I gotta say it myself. It's too long,
Yeah.
but here it is anyway. K dot Andersen, the Danish way, Andersen dot synergy at gmail.com.
Yes. If you would like to work with me, either on a one-on-one session or if you'd like to be a guest on my podcast, I would welcome a conversation. You can reach me at markfechner.com. There is a link there for a 30-minute free conversation, or you can email me at mark@markfechner.com. I am happy to take those as well.
And
Thank you.
not to cut you off, I just want to give a hearty recommendation. Uh,
Oh,
as Mark has said, we've been working together for a number of months, and his assistance and guidance and his ability to pose the right questions to help me discover what my path is and where I need to go has been instrumental. And so I heartily recommend working with Mark. He's a wonderful human being and an excellent coach.
oh, gee, thanks. I'm all
Oh,
blushing now.
oh, look at you blushing.
And the check is in the mail. No. Thank you very much, Kirsten, for being here, for your willingness to be open in a public forum, and to discuss some of these things that are challenging you, and hopefully, how you can improve what you're doing in your business. Next time, my guest will be wine specialist Susie Whipple of the Basseret Collection. I'm kind of looking forward to this. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be talking about yet, but I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. If nothing else, there will be wine. So who can go wrong with that? The Business Mind can be seen and airs the second and fourth Tuesday of every month, on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central on transformationtalkradio.com. So please feel free to join the conversation. So until next time, be safe, be healthy, be profitable. See you then. Thank you for listening to The Business Mind on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm Mark Fechner, where we focus on real people with real issues, and we tackle those issues in real time. I don't have the answers. I hope you find the answers within you. The Business Mind Show airs the second and fourth Tuesday of every month at 8 a.m. Pacific on transformationtalkradio.com. Sometimes all you need is a change in perception. A certified coach will listen to your challenge, ask you intuitive, open-ended questions, help you find fresh perspectives, and then hold you accountable to reach your goals. Coaching is an investment in yourself that can create paths to greater success. To find out more about my coaching, go to markfechner.com.